Hi folks, my name's Deepak Shukla and welcome to my Unacademy YouTube course, How to Get a Place at Oxford, Cambridge and other top European universities. If you're looking to prepare for examinations and take courses for any number of topics, head to unacademy.com, India's largest learning platform, and stay tuned for this course to make sure that you get into the top university. Brought to you by Deepak Shukla and Unacademy.
Hey guys, welcome back to part 4 of how to write a personal statement for Oxford, Cambridge and other European universities. Part 4, as I said, and as you can see from the background, I've opted for a slight change of scenery, and I always just think it's much more engaging when you're able to see who the person is behind the screencast, so you can see kind of my expressions, what's going on, and just a lot more than that. So let's go. And today, or in this video lesson rather, we're going to be talking about the actual application itself. So this is as you can see what you're going to learn here. We're going to be looking at, what is UCAS. We're going to be looking at the UCAS criteria and deadlines, as you can see, and we're going to do a kind of walk through the application process. Let's get going. Let's rock and roll, guys. So what is UCAS? UCAS it's quite interesting actually. So UCAS is well, let's start with what UCAS stands for. Universities and Colleges Admission Service, right? That's what UCAS actually stands for. And the crazy thing is that most of us will never even really learn what UCAS stands for or think about it, just know rather that you need to apply through UCAS. So University and Colleges Admission Service, and as it says here, the centralized service that students use to apply to university, and that's for the UK, right? And basically pretty much everyone who wants to study an undergraduate degree in the UK will have to apply through UCAS. Anyone who's listening, whether you're from the the US, the UK, inside the EU, non-EU, wherever in the world that you are, you pretty much will need to apply through UCAS in order to attend Oxford or Cambridge. And UCAS itself, this is quite a cool fact for you. UCAS is, it's an independent charity basically. Their role and their mission is to help you get to where you want to go. It's a charity, and they basically form, the admission service, which are used to basically help you get to the next stage in your career. And they provide, of course, information and advice as well. And here's, some kind of statistics for you, if you will. In 2014, there were 3 million applications. Now this is the latest statistic from their actual website. Now I know that of course it's 2017 now, at least when I'm recording this, 5th of Feb, and basically from that there were 3 million basically applications from 700,000 UK, EU and international students, and from that 500, basically 500,000 people from that secured a full-time place at one of over 380 universities and colleges across the UK. So let's have a look at that more carefully. You got 3 million applications between 700,000 students, right? So that means that students, I don't quite know how they work out that statistic, whether that means that they've got, because each candidate you can apply for up to 5 places, which we'll go on to talk about in in a little while. But basically you have 3 million applications, and as you can see there's already a cutoff. So if you're someone who makes it through successfully to a university, well done initially, because from the 700,000, 512,000, so basically 500,000 from the 700,000 end up getting a full-time place at the 380 universities and colleges that you have to choose from. So there's some statistics for UCAS for you, and hopefully you now understand what UCAS is. So let's have a look at some of the the important deadlines that you need to be aware of if you're applying to Oxbridge. The final deadline is the 15th of January, as you can see here. Applications for the majority of your undergraduate courses should arrive at UCAS by 6, right? 15th of Jan. And the reference. So the application and the reference. However, it's only on, it's actually the 15th of October that really, if you want to be getting into to Oxford or even any top tier university, that's when you want your application to have come in by. So the official final deadline is the 15th of January, but you're going to find it significantly harder if you don't apply by the 15th of October. So ideally you're looking to apply by the 1st of October, or the middle of September. So do bear this in mind when making your applications. The rest, I mean, they're here just for a reference point. You'll get all of these PDFs and worksheets I will share with you. It's just for your kind of reference point that there's this mention of extra. So extra is you get 5 applications for universities, okay? And the idea always is that you're going to apply relevant to the kind of grade that you predicted to get. You're going to apply to the best universities. So broadly speaking, that'd be Oxford, that'd be Cambridge, that'd be Oxford, Cambridge, LSE, Imperial, UCL. There you go. There's 5 there, right? I went to Warwick myself. We're rated as one of the UK's top as well. That's what you can apply for. Now, for whatever reason, if you're at 5 universities, I know we're focusing on Oxbridge, but I'll take a moment just to explain. Extra is the option that you can look into. It's not going to be covered within the context of this course, but if you don't get a place at any of those 5 universities, there's a potential that you can apply for that's what extra will allow you to actually do. So do bear that in mind, that ultimately you've got until, I'd even say, the 1st of October really. Aim to get your course in by your application in by the 1st of October, and the deadline's on the 15th. Right, here we go. So now we're talking about perhaps the most interesting part of the whole UCAS process. This is the actual application process. Now, there are more parts than this, and I've just broken it down into what I consider to be, the most important parts of the actual application process itself. So, you have the registration, so that you can actually become part of, the formal UCAS process. Okay, that's a registration, and then you got personal details. Okay, so this is, this is more particular for kind of UK and EU students. Any level of funding, like governmental support that you'll get, goes in here, or any kind of sponsorship. If you've got residency details, depending upon where in the country or the world that you're applying from, and that also can apply to residency details of visas, etc. And then you've got student finance. This is very specific for UK and EU, because you can of course apply for finance and through the government for funding, and depending upon your income, it will be means tested for your parents. What I mean by that is, very simply, if you struggle financially and you're from the UK or the EU, then you will have the opportunity to apply for student finance, which will support you through your university degree, to allow you to begin to start paying back, well, rather to give you the funds to actually get through university, and then you only start paying it back once you have a salary that kicks in. Then you've got your course choices. Okay, so course choices is what we briefly discussed before, the 5 universities that you're going to pick a place to go to. Full education history. Now, for any of those who, and it has happened before, unfortunately, when I speak to candidates who say they haven't quite met the grade, and they want to apply and hope that they can kind of skip through, or a blind eye can be turned, proof will be required to be submitted through UCAS or to your college directly. So either UCAS will ask for it, but in the case of Oxbridge, it's more likely that Oxbridge are going to ask for it, that you say, hey, I got all of these grades in the CBSE, or the EB or the IB or whatever it might be. Then the university will say, okay, amazing. At some stage before you start at the university, they will ask you for proof. So do bear that in mind, okay? Writing a personal statement. This is, of course, the whole course is basically going to be centered around that, key element, and we're going to be going through that in a separate video altogether, about how to write the perfect personal statement. Then you also need a reference, actually. So references are, an academic reference, that will vouch for you, as well as potentially, I think, a character reference, but one of the two. We'll go ahead and look into that further, but you do need a reference as well as, of course, a personal statement. And to get more details, if we go ahead and open this up, we'll have a quick look-see. Here we go, filling in your UCAS application, and as you can see, these are the things that we quickly went through. Register to use to apply, and it asks you for some other questions. Sign in to fill the rest of your personal details, funding and sponsorship options, residential status, additional info. I skipped that, UK only. Student finance, course choices, what you're applying for. You can apply for deferred entry. I don't, in truth, really ever see many people applying for deferred entry. Oxford and Cambridge will unlikely well, you need to have an exceptional case. So I'd say that for the most part, skip this. But if you do have specific questions around that, leave a comment, and that's something that we can address. Then you've got full education history, as we discussed there, and this is the relevant bit for those who are outside of the EU, or rather who are not from the UK. Add as much detail as possible. Grades and results. Qualifications are listed by name and country. If yours isn't there, just add it into the other box. If it's not there, just add it into the other box, and it says you may, but read that as you will need to send proof to either UCAS or the university or college yourself. Then you've got mature students. It's clearly slightly different for you guys. Do have a look at this section. If you've got any questions, leave a comment and then we can address that. Your employment history. Now, I didn't actually put that in. I just see that I didn't. So if you have any employment history, if any, then do make sure that you include it. Paid jobs, full-time, part-time, as well as perhaps anything that is unpaid or voluntary, you include that, but in your personal statement rather than the actual employment history. So paid work, full-time and part-time, and that does really apply more for mature students or people that are applying not fresh out of school, like the majority of students do. And then this is the most important part, personal statement. You can have a look through everything, and then you can get a reference as a written recommendation from a teacher who knows you academically. Everyone needs a reference. Everyone needs a reference. So make sure you get the academic reference that you're looking for. And there's a whole section on how to get a reference itself, which we will cover. We'll cover that in a later section of it. But these are all of the elements, as you can see. Referee, pay the application, send your application to us. These are more administrative parts that we can. That I believe that you'll be fine to manage all by yourself. And that is basically the UCAS application process. So this is what we covered. What is UCAS? We talked about some of the the criteria and the deadlines, which really ultimately is what is UCAS deadlines here, and then we had the application process. The criteria as such in terms of the personal statement part, we'll cover that in the next class, and we walked through the application process, which is this element. You can go ahead and apply through online, and in the next lesson we're going to be actually coming to writing your personal statement itself and some of the things that you need to do around that. So see you in the next lesson.